currently making 47 rupees tax on a product that costs 39 rupees. Take a cut on your profit, squeeze your margin a little bit. All the businesses are squeezing their margins. Reduce the tax. It is the only thing to do right now.
नहीं, ये आपका जो चैनल है वो हमारे मीडियम लोगों के लिए ये आप जो संदेश पहुंच रहे हैं वो काफ़ी अच्छा है, हमको पसंद आया।
आपने ये जो आप कैंपेन चालू किया है वो बहुत काफ़ी बढ़िया है। हर आदमी, हर कॉमन मैन के पास ये सब संदेश पहुंच रहा है।
Mega mirror now impact. One day after Centre announced 2 rupees 50 paise reduction in fuel prices, 15 states, mainly BJP-led states, reduced VAT on fuel, giving a total of 5 rupees relief on fuel.
पेट्रोल और डीजल के दामों में सेंट्रल टैक्स की कटौती कर 2.5 रुपये तक की राहत आम जनता को मिले, इस प्रकार का फैसला किया है। मैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी की ओर से इस फैसले का स्वागत करता हूं।
However, 24 hours after the tax cut, once again petrol and diesel prices went up on Friday morning. Meanwhile, politics over fuel has taken over. Opposition parties have refused to give tax cut in their states.
After inflicting 1,000 wounds, Modi government applies band-aid of a marginal cut in the prices of petrol and diesel.
In West Bengal, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee said that the state had already reduced fuel prices in September and will not give in to the centre's request for an additional tax cut. Similarly, Kerala and Karnataka had given tax relief when fuel prices peaked. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and Congress-led Punjab government are also yet to reduce tax on fuel. Mirror now asks, is centre's fuel price relief enough? When will all states in India reduce tax on fuel? Let's debate.
Well, we continue our campaign on the prices of fuel as we continue to bring you information here on Mirror Now. But joining me on the show today is Zafar Islam for the BJP, Mohan Guruswamy, senior economist. We also have Sriram Khanna, founder of Consumer Voice, Ajay Bansal, president of the All India Petrol Dealers Association, Subhash Chand Agarwal, RTI activist, Sulaiman Mohammad Khan for the Congress, S. Muralidharan, who is an AIA-DMK supporter. I welcome all of you to this conversation and thank you for joining us. My first question is going to be obviously to Sulaiman Khan of the Congress. Sulaiman Khan, why is it that Congress-led states are not willing to give a price cut to citizens? So you criticize the central government this entire time, but you're not willing to follow your own advice.
You know, Faye, our criticism or our opposition to the increase or to levying of exorbitant taxes on petrol and diesel was very justified, and I think it was the responsibility of the Congress party along with other opposition parties to have a good protest when the central government is taxing or levying taxes on petrol and diesel as high as, you know, increasing in 4 years to 443% on diesel and 211% on petrol. As far as Congress party is concerned, we have reduced, we were the first one to do that. We have reduced the state taxes by the tune of 2 rupees and 50 paisa, way before anyone has done. And Rajasthan has done just because we have called for a, Bharat Bandh on 10th of September. On 10th of September. Otherwise also, just see, this marginal cut in the fuel prices or the central excise duties to the tune of 1 rupee 50 paisa of the central taxes and 1 rupee the oil marketing companies have to absorb. I think after looting 13 lakh crore rupees from the pockets of the Indians, now you are cutting 1 rupee 50 paisa in central excise duties after increasing 12 times and increasing to, you know all the data, I think. From 3 rupees 46 paisa to 15 rupees 33 paisa on diesel, the excise duty has increased in 4 years. And from 9 rupees 20 paisa to 19 rupees 48 paisa on petrol. Now after increasing 12 rupees and 10 rupees on diesel and petrol respectively, now you are cutting 1 rupee 50 paisa. So what Randeep ji said, it's a perfect thing to say, that after inflicting thousands of wounds, now you are putting a band-aid in the form of this marginalized cut. And even in states which we have not reduced like Punjab, Puducherry or Mizoram, we are considering of reducing there. But in Karnataka, we have done. We set the
No,
example.
but in Karnataka, let me remind you, Mohammad Khan, in Karnataka, you've reduced prices 2 rupees after increasing prices 2 rupees. So technically, you shouldn't be taking any credit for the cut in Karnataka. But I'll call out Mr. Zafar Islam to respond to you. Zafar Islam, respond to Mohammad Khan and the accusations he's making today.
Why have you ever experienced a disbeliever preaching a convert? Here is the case. Congress party is preaching a convert. We are the one who are always concerned about the welfare of the people of this country. Look, these people, they were advocating every day. Rahul Gandhi, first thing in the morning, fuel prices are going up, despite knowing the fact that it isn't, crude prices is not controlled by us and it is not produced in 10 Janpath. It is something which we need to import and it's going because there's an upward pressure on crude prices. Yet, every day sending messages. Now when there was an opportunity for them, they didn't cut. They didn't respond. What does that mean? What does that mean? They are a double-faced people. They are absolutely not concerned about the welfare of the people. For 70 years, they have not done. Even today, they demonstrated that they are hollow. In their promises, they will never do when it comes to providing relief to people. Now let me come back to you. Yeah, what is the question?
The question is an increase altogether of 15 rupees in excise and a decrease of 3 rupees, a decrease of 1.5 rupees actually, not 3 rupees. What's the justification there?
By 5 rupees put together a massive relief. It's a massive relief. The people of this country are extremely happy. There are two things which you need to understand. The economy has to be in good shape. It was in terrible shape in 2013. Now it is in good shape. The Honorable Finance Minister, when he did a press conference yesterday, what did he speak? He gave a complete brief on economy. He said about the GST collection. He talked about the tax base has improved and so is the tax collection. He's also suggested that the GST is stabilizing on the inflation front. He's spoken about the inflation. And overall, also he stated that the government borrowing has been reduced by 70,000 crore. So all the important aspects he touched before making the announcement that government can absorb the two things. One, the inflation is under control. There are people who are expecting something government to do, and the government is in a position to absorb without having to resort to having a subsidy mechanism. If they can absorb 10,000-15,000 crore at the center, and they requested also the state. And see the impact, 5 rupees. What is Congress party is doing? What is Rahul Gandhi is doing? Only drama.
Allow me to bring in my experts, please.
They have always misled the people. They are misleading the people.
Mohan Guruswamy is a very senior economist. Mr. Guruswamy, do you want to rebut Zafar Islam when he says the economy is currently in good shape? Because as of today, the Sensex came down 900 points. It was down 590 points yesterday. We know from news reports that the annual tax or the quarterly tax targets have not been met. The rupee is at 74 to the dollar. Would you agree that the economy is in good shape, Mr. Guruswamy?
It's a question of perspective. Now, Zafar Islam might think is doing well. There are others who might think otherwise, because to me the proof of an economy doing well, a developing economy, is when the expenditure, capital expenditure to GDP ratio goes up. It has been dropping for the past 5 years, and it's come down to about 26% now. Now the savings rate is down. There is inflation, and there's food inflation. Cereals have gone up because of procurement. So all this is affecting the common man. And you can say that, Sensex doesn't really affect the common man in that sense. There are no jobs because there's no investment. All this shows that you need more money with the government. Your tax GDP ratio is among the lowest for a big country. It's only 16%. China does 24-25% now. Countries like Britain and the US do over 30. Britain does 43%. Now you've got to get revenues, and that is the real power of a government, to have money in its pocket to spend on people. Here we have a system where it's just not the BJP government, the system where 10.4 to 11% of GDP goes on salaries. That means they collect and spend on themselves. It's more than the capital expenditure a year. Now there are serious anomalies. You can't correct it by fuel prices, 2 rupees or 1.5 rupees or whatever. Mamta is asking for a 10 rupee reduction per litre. If you take 10 rupees off, you're taking 1/3 of the central government's revenues, tax revenues on petroleum. That's about total tax revenues on petroleum is about 3.33 lakh crores. You can't lose that kind of money. So where is this money going to come? And this irresponsible Prime Minister Modi, before he became Prime Minister, kept assaulting the government, saying that we'll reduce the prices. We'll do this, we'll do that. The rupee is going up. Rupee was going to 62, 63. Then he said, we've lost our prestige. Hamari ijjat gayi hai. Now they're doing the same thing to him, because that was a bad practice to start with, to use these kind of serious economic discussion for assault and for propaganda. And Congress Party is doing it. So you can't complain. You take it now, take it like a man.
In fact,
and you can't reduce prices of petroleum any further.
In fact, I just want to play out this.
And oil prices are going to touch 100 very soon. That's a speculation.
This is Nitin Gadkari speaking with our reporter at Mirror Now, where he says the state governments are in shambles. Okay, we're getting that, but let me just go to Zafar Islam. Zafar Islam, Nitin Gadkari, when he spoke, and he's a union minister with the BJP government, he said the economy is in shambles. The state governments are in desperate need of cash, and that's why fuel prices are rising. So how does that then reconcile with what you're saying of the economy being in good shape? If the economy was in good shape, why is it that you, a union minister from this government, is disagreeing with that statement?
Not at all. He said in different perspective. He was talking about a question was posed and he was responding in a very different perspective. Everyone knows you have to see his other comments given to other news channel and other agencies. He has very clearly always spoken about the state of economy, and he said it is doing exceedingly well. It is for everyone to see. All the macroeconomic parameter was in terrible shape in 2013-14. There was economic paralysis. Today, what is that? Everything is in good shape. Now, let me tell you also that Mr. Guru Murthy has rightly pointed out that the large part of the budget is the fixed cost for the government.
Guru Swami, Guru Murthy is your fellow.
Guru Murthy, yeah. So my apologies.
Guru Swami.
No, Mr. Guru Swami, I said then. Okay, my apologies. I'm just correcting myself. Apologies for that. But let me respond to you that he rightly pointed out that the government has limited resources to maneuver. 53% or large part of that is actually of the budget is already fixed cost for the government. Then they were focusing on reducing the revenue expenditure. The government has focused on reducing the revenue expenditure last 4 years. Capex has at least has been, we have a capital expenditure we have maintained to a percentage of GDP. But overall, if you see, the government has limited ability to spend. And how can we can keep on cutting when we have limited resources available at our disposal?
But that's interesting. That's interesting, Zafar Islam. If we are,
finance minister said,
one second. If we have maintained our targets for fiscal deficits, if we have enough foreign exchange, then why are we at a desperate, limited room to spend? If the economy is doing well, then the government should have tax money coming in from all of the great business that we're doing. So why is the government at a loss at this point? So a lot of the things that you're saying are actually contradicting each other, but I have to bring in the rest of the panel right now. Sriram Khanna with Consumer Voice. Mr. Khanna, we're obviously grateful for the 5 rupees relief that the governments have given us. Do you believe
can
that
I just
it's...
can I respond
Zafar
to
Islam, very quickly, please. I have to bring in the rest of my panel. Very quickly, go ahead.
See, when...
if you're talking about, if people are talking about rupee, reminding about rupee, you are talking about crude prices. These are things not in our control. You have to do a back testing.
All right,
just a second, sir. Just a second.
Okay.
If you do a back testing for 5 years, the back testing for 5 years of how the rupee has, or all the major currencies of the globe has depreciated against dollar because dollar is strengthening. Interest rate of US is going up.
No.
Money is
Zafar
moving
Islam,
there.
I'm just
Everybody is buying
reacting to the
dollars.
fact that in your
Currencies have
first answer,
appreciated.
Zafar Islam, I'm reacting to the fact that in your first answer you told me, and I quote, the economy is in good shape. In your second answer, you said the government has limited room to spend money. We don't have that much money. So this cut that we've given right now has come at a great cost. Both of which can't be true at the same time is my point. But
Why? You also know.
okay.
Why you also know the budget. There is a fixed cost in the budget which no government can do anything.
Okay.
I mean, for instance, when let me give you one example. If
No.
you keep on
I
borrowing
have to allow
what
the rest of my
UPA
panel
government
to
was
speak,
doing,
Mr. Islam.
Then you have
You've
the
taken up most of the
huge
show
interest
already.
burden.
One second.
Interest
Sriram
burden.
Khanna of Consumer Voice.
Interest burden.
Opening
After you
statements from the rest of the
finish with your
panel, please. Sriram Khanna, go ahead. Do you believe the cut is enough? Given, of course, like Mr. Islam said,
See,
that there
I'd
is
like to say
limited room for the
that
government.
The fixed cost.
Go ahead, Mr. Khanna.
See, the fixed cost that the gentleman is talking about has been fixed since the times in the past. In the UPA government, UP 1 and 2 also, the fixed costs were almost the same. There are slight variations in percentages, but basically the picture is the same. So it's nothing that it has happened till last night or last week. But over the last 4.5 years, even when the central government had room to reduce petroleum prices, instead of reducing petroleum prices, they took undue advantage of favorable international conditions and lower crude prices to increase taxes. And they increased taxes not once, twice, but 12 times. And the result is that the combined incidence of taxation on petroleum diesel is more than 100%. The highest tax rate on all the other products is 28%. On what grounds can you justify a 100% tax on a common man's product? It is bad economic policy. Okay, I welcome the reduction in 1.5 rupees excise duty and 1 rupee on the oil marketing companies' margins and the states which have followed the BJP-led government. But it's too little too late. Out of a total incidence of taxes of 40 rupees, you want to reduce 2-3 rupees and say, we have done this. It's only symbolic. I also agree to the point of view that the government has limited maneuvering space because it has a tight expenditure pattern and the fiscal deficit has to be controlled. Therefore, the room is limited. But then what do you do? Where is your policy? The policy should be that you have to tax sin products, you tax tobacco, you tax gambling, you tax lottery, you tax conspicuous consumption and recover the losses you are making by reducing taxes on petroleum over the next 5 years. We don't see that policy. This is only a knee-jerk reaction. Ad hoc measures are not going to be good for the economy and the economy is already on a downslide. The rupee sliding, the capital that is leaving your secondary markets is already causing worries. And it appears that jobless growth is going to become a pain not only for farmers but for wage employees at the lower rung of the economy. And I think it's time to worry not only about petrol prices but about the general state of the economy, of jobless growth. And also, the constraints of the economy don't give too much leeway to the central government to give huge amount of largesse. And also, by increase in MSP, you are going to see the food inflation going further. So things are going to get worse. And therefore, in such a situation, I think there needs to be a political consensus between the ruling party and the opposition parties on the tax on alcohol and petroleum products to be brought under GST and have a uniform policy on higher taxes of a maybe penal rate of 35 to 40% on sin goods, on tobacco, on alcohol, on conspicuous consumption, on lotteries, on gambling, and all other forms of consumptions which are done primarily by the wealthy who earn 1, 2, 3 lakhs rupees a month. They are the ones who should bear the brunt, not the common man earning 10,000 to 20,000 rupees a month. This is what good economic policy is. And I'm afraid that is not the way the central government is going. They are doing knee-jerk reactions and it doesn't behove well for the federal government to give knee-jerk reaction to what is actually required is a policy response. There is no policy response. You are blaming UP of policy paralysis. You are yourself having a policy paralysis. You have no policy.
Okay.
You are doing knee-jerk reactions. How are you better than UPA? At least UPA held the prices down. Their rupee was 62 rupees.
No, but
taxes on petroleum were lower.
But Mr. Shriram Khanna, it has costed the government. It has costed the government 10,500 crore rupees to give us this cut. At the end of the day, that does come out of the budget. Zafar Islam, how will the government pay for this 10.5 crore rupees? Where will the money come from? 10,500 crore rupees.
Precisely.
See, I'm sure you heard the. So you heard the press conference. I'm sure you have heard the finance minister in yesterday's press conference.
Yes.
What did he say? That the ability of the government, because of the tax collection and the data which is available till September 30th, that gives him the flexibility to absorb this additional burden of 12,500 crore. So that has already been stated by the Honorable Finance Minister. I mean, where is the question of any scope for me to add anything? I mean, that clarity has already been given. But let me respond to Mr. Shriram Khanna. Sir, you are talking about the fixed cost. Let me remind you, and I think you should also go back and see and check the data, that you are talking about last two UPA government. Successive time, you must see how much government borrowing has been done, how much it has increased, how much the interest burden has come to the government, and what is the flexibility the government has lost in terms of doing the welfare scheme for the people. Now you talk about yesterday, you didn't hear the Honorable Finance Minister, what did he say? That he is reducing 70,000 crore of government borrowing. Why? Because that is important, and it is important for the government to not go on, just keep on borrowing and have a fiscal deficit and have a large fiscal deficit. Government is maintaining something which is in the interest of the nation.
All right, so Mohan Guruswamy will rebut, and then the other panelists will make a statement. Mr. Guruswamy's rebuttal, please.
Of 6.5%, what we have seen. But that is not going to help. Your future generation, you will only burden the future generation when you will only raise money to service that. And also, let me tell you one thing, Shriramji, one thing. Keep on borrowing, you will only put country in a danger situation.
No, hang on. No, one second. Mr. Guruswamy, government borrowing or what we call government bonds are part of the economy. We can't wish them away. There's been no government. One second, Mr. Islam. There's been no government in the history of India that has not borrowed. Governments borrow every year. These are called government bonds. Mr. Guruswamy, do you have a rebuttal for Zafar Islam's argument?
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong in borrowing. Everybody runs on borrowed money. It's the ability to service the debt which matters. When you can't service the debt, that debt becomes an NPA. As far as governments are concerned, they keep issuing more bonds. And therefore the interest burden is all notional, it's all a big paper transaction because they print more notes and it comes back into the system. But question you asked, before that was important, where was this 10,500 crores coming from? I'll tell you where it will come from. It will come from the people who make the least noise in this country, the poorest people, the school children whose midday meals will be tripped, all kinds of things will happen. So money will be squeezed out from there to accommodate these sundry appetites of people who drive scooters and cars and whatever. Now, Arun Jaitley said something very interesting. He says, I've given you a saving, now go and spend it and, prime the economy. Now, what is he giving? 67% of petrol is used by two-wheeler drivers in this country. And a two-wheeler driver, average this thing is about 15 to 18 liters a month. That means she's doing something between 35 to 45 rupees a month savings he's going to get. He's laughing at them, saying, go and spend it. On what? You'll go and buy one more ice cream? Is that going to pump around the economy? I mean, rather not indulge in this kind of tokenism, But these people will keep doing it. And, now they've gone to town all over the country, like, we have given you a price reduction. After 21 price increases in the last 2 years, you're given 2 rupees. That too you're giving, hit the oil companies with 1 rupee. And that is a debt which is waiting to be settled.
Okay,
so they've actually given 1 rupee 50 paise.
Right, so
and they're asking state governments to match. Now, state governments have no money.
May I come in?
1 second, Subhash Chandra Agarwal hasn't spoken yet. Mr. Agarwal, here's my question to you. Do you believe this is tokenism? Or do you believe that the government has done the right thing and has done enough?
No, one-time cut will not help anyway, and it should not be politically linked. My view is that petroleum products should be under GST and prices should be uniform all over the country. Bringing petrol and diesel under GST does not mean that the maximum 28% tax will be there. There is a provision of cess also. So therefore it should come under the GST. Secondly, because government is the biggest consumer of petroleum products, it should cut down the consumption itself. It can install GPS system on all the government vehicles to avoid misuse for private purposes. And secondly, diesel cars should not be there. Diesel should be for public transport only. Why luxury cars having cheaper diesel instead of petrol? And secondly, there should be dual tax structure for luxury cars and economical cars, and it should be encouraged that economical cars are manufactured in more quantity.
It's already there.
And all government purchases should be on economical cars. Only for foreign dignitaries.
Okay, so Subhash Chandra Agarwal is arguing austerity measures for government
economical economical cars only, not on luxury cars.
1 second. Also, I have one more guest who hasn't spoken.
Why there are so many oil companies?
I just want to reply on.
Just one second. Ajay Bansal hasn't spoken yet. Mr. Bansal is the president of the All India Petrol Dealers Association. Mr. Bansal, we had one rise in fuel prices this morning. So do you believe that the cut is enough? Because it is a 5% relief, it's a 5 rupee relief, and 5 rupees is a lot. Mr. Bansal.
No, I don't find it's not. From my view, it is not at all a real cut, because the last 3 months we have seen the increase of 14 rupees, 3-4 months. So our demand is very clear. It is already been, I think, taken care and I think told by one of the panelists that it has to need to come to the GST, because the daily price is still there. The daily price, the price will again go to 4 or 5 or 7 rupees up next few days. So we need to have a proper solution. We need to have a permanent solution. The permanent solution is to get it in the GST. And GST is the only way to give the relief, proper relief and the permanent relief to the people. And we feel that it should come under GST. And even if they want to reduce the price, it has to be at least 10 rupees. Not less than 10 rupees is required to take care of at least 3 months. Because next another few days, we expect around 4-5 rupees increase.
Yes.
So that will not be. I think it will not. It will be again the same rate which they have reduced.
Right. We also have Balaji on the phone line from Chennai. Balaji, go ahead, please.
May I come in now?
Yes, just 1 second. Balaji, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Actually, my point is, prior to 2013, UPA government was running the show with a given tax component.
Okay.
Excise duty was some particular percentage was there. Okay. And the excise duty component has been raised 12 times.
Yes.
And it has been raised to 19 rupees also. And merely reducing 1 rupee 50 paise is not at all acceptable by a common man.
Okay. So you're saying, Balaji, that it's not enough, that you don't see this cut as enough.
It's completely not enough. This government does not know how to generate revenue out of it. Okay. It just taxes the common man. That is the easy way for them to cover their fiscal deficit.
Yes. Okay. All right. Mohammad Sulaiman Khan had a point to make. Mr. Khan, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I have heard Mr. Zafar Islam. He has said that Mr. Rahul Gandhi was, every morning tweeting. He has to understand that Mr. Rahul Gandhi is the president of the principal opposition parties. When people, the common man, is feeling the pain, Congress party has to raise the voice. And it's not unjustified. I think the whole nation was with Mr. Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party and other opposition parties because of this monstrous taxation regime which is right now ruling the country. It is a welfare state. The work of the government is not only to collect taxes. Government need revenue, everyone knows. They have to run the show. But still, you have to see how it is, putting a hole into the pockets of the common man. And he was, praising that we have reduced taxes in the states and what Congress has done. Let me tell you, and Faye, you must be knowing this. The state tax, that is VAT in Chhattisgarh, is 27%. I'm telling you, petrol. In Gujarat, it's 26%. Maharashtra, 39%. Rajasthan, 31%. It was reduced for 4% when 2 rupees was cut down. Madhya Pradesh, 36%. And same is diesel, from 22, 23%, 26%. BJP ruled states. Now, they have cut 2 rupees or some taxes. I think after, looting the country by 13 lakh crores, now
what
you are
about
reducing.
Punjab?
I think it's a joke on the people.
You know what?
Second, the same
Sulaiman
person,
Khan, if you're going to
Mr.
call out
we
those
will do it.
data,
We will do
call
it.
out Punjab as well. It's
let me complete.
34.86%.
Please, the last sentence.
What about Punjab?
But diesel is 18%.
Why can I just?
But diesel is 18%.
Still, Punjab is
diesel
among the
is
highest.
18%. I understand the petrol price, taxes of petrol in Punjab is high. Yeah. No, it's
Why
not the
can I just
highest.
come in, please?
Yes.
Maharashtra is the highest. We are on the 3rd or 4th position.
But Maharashtra has given a 2.5 rupee cut and you have not.
Let me complete now. Let me complete.
Okay.
Maharashtra. No, please. Let me complete. I have not been able to. Madhya Pradesh, 36% on petrol. Maharashtra, 39%. Punjab, 34%. But diesel is 18% in Punjab. I think it's the least. Second, Mr. Narendra Modi, when he was the chief minister, he used to say that जैसे जैसे डॉलर के मुकाबले रुपया गिरता है तो प्रधानमंत्री की गरिमा गिरती है. 74 रुपीस को क्रॉस कर गया. अब कितनी गरिमा गिर गई? ये इकोनॉमी है आपकी. Current account deficit is widening, exports are decreasing, imports are increasing. What is the economy?
Okay,
What are you trying to do?
we should allow Zafar
It's
Islam
nothing
to
to laugh,
respond.
I think, Mr.
Zafar Islam, now
You have to maintain
this is okay. Right. Zafar Islam. Here's the thing: when the BJP was in opposition, you criticized at that point the rupee, you criticized the oil prices, you criticized every move of the government of the day,
One
which
last
was
thing.
your right.
Please, one last thing, if you allow me.
Go on, Sulaiman Khan.
One last thing.
Very quickly.
Sorry to interject.
Can I just?
One last. The average international crude oil prices during the UPA regime was more than $100 per barrel.
Okay.
Right now, even after having a crude oil prices as low as $40, the average price is $58 per barrel.
Okay, allow him to respond.
30% less what we have faced, but still we have been able to sell petrol at a rate of 71%.
Okay, allow him to
diesel
respond.
55%.
Zafar Islam, at the time when
okay,
Sulaiman Khan. Zafar Islam, at the time when you were in opposition, you were criticizing everything.
Sorry.
But now when you are in power, it's very easy to turn around and say we have no control over global prices. So which is it? And why were you being unfair while you were in opposition, or are you being unfair now?
See, you have to see every statement in the right perspective. Let me respond to Mr. Muhammad Sulaiman. First of all, for Congress party and its leader, Aam Aadmi lives only in state which is ruled by Bharatiya Janata Party, not the states where it is ruled by Congress party, because they have not taken decision to cut and responded to
my question, Mr. Islam.
The request made by the Honorable Finance Minister, and they are not providing relief. Secondly, as far as the statements at that point in time, you have to see.
No, we have already provided in Karnataka.
No, let him speak, please. Let him speak.
Diesel are quite low, please, sir.
Say, I didn't interrupt.
Mr. Islam,
I didn't interrupt.
Allow Mr. Islam to finish making his statement.
Information.
All I'm saying that you have to compare for yourself the terrible state of economy at that point in time. Inflation at 10%, fiscal deficit at 6.5%, the current account deficit 4.5%.
My goodness.
See the state of economy today for your own eyes. The CAD, despite adjusting for all the additional burden or the which is coming in our way, still the CAD will be around 2.5%, but it will not go beyond that. And the government of India is taking some measures, which, like for instance, they have given flexibility to the oil companies to borrow instead of buying dollar, borrow from through ECBs $10 billion instead of buying dollar, just borrow, because these are the measures will definitely help containing rupee sliding further. But you have to see in terms of the, as I said earlier, do a back testing of rupee, how it has performed against dollar or other currencies. Take it all the emerging economies, be it South African currency, be it Brazilian currency, be it Argentinian currencies, all the emerging economies are their currencies. India is far better, purely because the economic internal dynamics are perfectly looking good. Internal, there are internal indicators are good.
Again.
External indicators,
Other Asian
these are
currencies
not
have appreciated
in our
during
control.
this time only, when rupee has depreciated to a tune of 15% or more.
Well, let me
Other
bring in a
Asian currencies
non-political
have
voice
appreciated
here.
during this
Sriram
tenure only,
Khanna of
this time
Consumer
only.
Voice. Mr. Khanna, do you
Arre
see...
yaar,
One second,
please,
gentlemen.
please do
You've
not
made your
speak,
statements.
interrupt.
You've made your statements.
I told you not to interrupt.
One
I
second,
said
one
5
second.
years, back testing for 5 years. You
Okay,
can't see
okay.
it.
Mr. Sriram Khanna will respond. Mr. Khanna, do you see that at this point, the economy is far better managed than it was 5 years ago when the UPA government was in power?
See, the data that has come out on the economic performance indicators for the last 4.5 years, it indicates that these 4.5 years are in no way better than the previous 5 years of UPA 2. And in fact, the claims of job creation, the claims of new investments, they have been hollow, proven hollow, and the CMI data has shown that demonetization has actually adversely affected more than 10 million jobs. And that is the data being given by this CMI surveys. So all these things taken together, and look at the mayhem that is being caused in the stock markets over the last few weeks, and the falling rupee. I mean, there are, of course, global headwinds, but it also shows that the economic situation is not as bright as being claimed by the manager of the government. They are merely doing PR work. On the ground, the situation is bad. No jobs are being created. Food inflation is hurting. Agrarian crisis is not being addressed. By increasing MSP, you are going to increase food inflation also. Of course, by all means, farmer must be given more because they are at a short end of the stick. But at the same time, the overall management of the economy does not seem very healthy. And if this is Achhe Din, then I think it's better to say those were the days which are better. So I think all people need to understand that we are in a tight spot and things are going to become worse in the next 6 months. They are not going to become better. Okay. And if government keeps giving knee-jerk reactions like the tax cut they have given, that is not desirable. They need to give a policy response. How are you going to deal with petroleum and diesel and alcohol prices, which are affected by high taxes, high excise duty at the center and VAT? Bring them under GST.
Bring them under
Find
GST.
a way. Do it over a period of time.
Ajay Bansal,
but where is your policy response?
Yes, Ajay Bansal, you're also fundamentally a business owner. You run a business. I'm sure you have a network of other business owners that you interact with. Would you say, from a business point of view, you can respond to both of them, Mr. Islam?
Give me 20 seconds.
No, 1 second. I will give you a chance to respond, but you respond to both of them together. Mr. Ajay Bansal, would you say this is a better economy to run a business in?
Allow me to rebut, Mr.
No, I will allow you to rebut, but allow Mr. Bansal to make his point, and then you can rebut both of them. Mr. Bansal, go ahead. Is this a better economy to run a business in?
What you said, this is, I think we need to have a permanent solution for the customer. We are facing very big problem. Every day there is an increase, and the customer feel that last time I paid 500 rupees and my tank was on that level. Now I have paid 500 rupees. Why is less? So these are the common problems at our outlets. So I feel it has to see not on daily basis. The daily basis price should not be there, because earlier it was 15 days. Every fortnightly we used to get the rate change. The people came to know.
So you want a policy change as well. Zafar Islam, respond to that, please. You wanted a rebuttal. Go ahead.
No, see, Mr. Khanna was talking about state of economy, and I think he's talking about, you have to see, and some CMI data is talking about, you have to see that all the structural reform which has been undertaken by this government, and we have very clearly stated during this process of taking a structural reform, all the important reform measures which have been taken, including GST, demonetization, IBC code, all these reform measures, this will definitely will ensure that there is a dip in GDP growth. But as we go along, you will see a significant improvement in GDP growth. A lot of economic activity you will see. Also, there was because of the NPA and the banking system, the overall capacity in the system was too steep. Now the capacity has been exhausted, and then the private investment which was not taking place. Now it started coming. The investment cycle has started. So all this put together, you have seen there's a jump in GDP growth, and as we go along, you will see manufacturing sector will contribute a lot. So is the other sector, and we will have overall GDP growth significantly higher than an economic activity, much higher than what we had seen in UPA 2 or UPA 1.
Well, we've run out of time really on this discussion, but it boils down to simply this: the savings, according to what Mohan Guruswamy told us, given to us by the government. While we are grateful for these savings, we must remember that most of the people who use petrol in the country are those who use two-wheelers, and they buy a certain average amount of petrol every month, which means the total savings that they will have from this cut is about 35 or 45 rupees at the end of the month. That's the savings that we've offered them. At the same time, let's also take a look at what's happening with jobs. Let's take a look at what's happening with taxes, with the stock market, with the rupee. Is the economy truly healthy? If the economy is truly healthy, then the festive season should do really well. We're going to keep a very close eye on it, because we believe that business and the way the economy functions affects how much money we take home at the end of the month, and our ability to educate our children and feed our families. On Mirror Now, we're going to bring you updates of everything that's happening in the economy, in the job sector, and of course with fuel prices. A 5 rupee cut we are grateful for, but it may not be enough. Thanks for watching.